is the big focus of the week, while some South Africans will seek to understand the financial implications of withdrawing from the two-part system. A poll conducted by the SABC shows those who intend to withdraw from their savings pot will use it to settle debt. At the same time, 25% of those indicate that they will spoil themselves with the money. In a few days' time, on the 1st of September, the much-anticipated retirement reform comes into effect. POPCRU President Thulani Ngwenya joins us in studio now to weigh in on the two-part retirement system. Mr. Ngwenya, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. So, of course, we know that this retirement reform, they were announced by government in February. We thought the implementation was going to come around about April. That was postponed to the 1st of September. But you have some reservations. Just talk to us about what is it about this particular system you are not in agreement with.
Good afternoon, Nati. Thank you very much for having us here. Our reservation as a union on this two-part system is that the details is not clear as to what is going to happen when this two-part system is being implemented. But one other thing that we have to put in front and be clear about it is that, remember, for the past 5 years, workers in the public service, in particular in government, their pension fund have been stagnant since 2017. 2018, government took us to court. We could not get a salary increase, as well as the pension become stagnant. 2019, 2020, COVID, until 2023. Yeah. Where we receive about 3%, of which was below far inflation rate. So now, for 5 years, you did not get your pension going up. Now, government is saying they are implementing this thing. 30,000 rand is going to be taken by members, but the modalities are not clear.
So in principle, you are in agreement with the functionality where workers can tap into their savings, but you're not in agreement with the specifics in as far as the modalities are concerned. Just talk to us exactly what the concern is. Is it the capped amount of a third or 10%, which is 30,000 rands maximum?
In its current form,
yeah,
of the 30,000, the capped amount, that's where we have a problem in the first place. Secondly, initially when we called for this access to pension fund, it was not in the form of a two-part system. We were saying, let's have an access to this money so that workers will address their indebtedness. So this two-part system will even make workers to be more indebted, because with 30,000, nothing is being told to workers that is going to be taxed. At a 15% tax in South Africa, how much will they get from that 15%? Mm-hmm. Then the other thing that is a problem, this we have had through the engagement with GPF. They are saying, once you withdraw, there is an indication that your years of service will be affected, of which is something that we need to be clarified on there to say, how do you now tap into my years of service that already I've contributed to? And then when I want to withdraw the 30,000, it becomes a problem.
And my concern is that we speak of this 30,000 as if that is the amount that will actually be in the hands of, some of the workers. I mean, when we look at that the pre-retirement withdrawals from the savings component will actually be taxed, as you've also said, at a marginal rates, like all income. However, then taxable income is lower. Taxpayers will be taxed at lower rates. But fundamentally, what we are essentially seeing is that workers will actually not leave home with the amount that they probably are assuming. But then that speaks to education. What level of education, when this was announced, has been conducted for workers? And I'm forging ahead here with the education component, even realizing that you are still wanting to have further negotiations with government, which I'm afraid at this late stage, I'm not sure what fruition it will come to.
Our view is that this process was hijacked by a Treasury Department, as well as influencing GPF on the modalities. When we presented this thing, it was about accessing money, a relief of some sort, because members could not buy houses. members could not afford to take their children to tertiary education. Members could not afford to earn a living when they are working for government. Now we are saying, with all this indebtedness that they are having, we are saying again, let them go and have a mashonisa thing that is going to give them 30,000. From that 30,000, you tap on their service. From that 30,000, we are going to tax it. And therefore, we are saying this might be seen as a good gesture for now, but at the long run, it will create problems for workers. And also the other thing that I must also put in front is that they are saying once those who are going to be employed from now, from the first going forward, you are going to be on that other pot. The money is going to be put there until you are 60, regardless that you're going to resign, regardless that you are going to leave government, you don't want to work for government, but that money will stay there. Then the big question is that at whose interest is it that money going to be? How much? Because now government is no longer contributing. We have retired. So there are so many things that in the details that Treasury must come and explain. As I'm sitting here, we're going to try and influence other affiliates in COSATU, in the CEC, to say, let us postpone. If it was postponed in January to be implemented in April, what is the rush? There's no one who is dying in implementing this thing in September. So we can postpone, sit around the table and fine-tune the modalities and go and educate our members so that members and also government employees should not find themselves in more debt than
I'm also trying to gauge the reasoning behind the lack of education for your members. Are you saying that because you claim that this entire system was hijacked by Treasury and that you had consulted at NEDLAC level, my concern now is that the implementation is happening on the 1st of September. Be that as it may, that the funding may not be released from the 1st of September, it's just the systems change. This ship has sailed, it's moving, and the concern then is, as you speak about the indebtedness of your workers, what will happen? What are you really asking for from government? Because I'm not sure if the postponement 6 days before the actual implementation will happen.
The postponement will help, because we will deal with the modalities. As you are saying, the legislation has been passed, the president has signed it, it's a law. But the implementation part, it's where the challenge is. Because the implementation part now is run by Treasury in a way of the two-pot system that will say savings pot versus the retirement and investment pot. So those modalities, they must be clear. And what is it that we're going to do together to go out with GPF, of which we also find it very difficult to believe that also the rules from GPF side have been changed. Because if I can take you through the rules that are saying the current situation says one third of your pension, you get it when you retire. The other 2/3 is going to be retained for you to get paid. But if you die, your spouse is going to get half of what you were getting. And if it happens that your spouse dies, if your children are above 18 years, they are not at school, they know that money, nobody can account to it. Where does it go for?
So you are meeting COSATU Central Executive Committee. You want to push for a more friendly pension system. That is where I'm trying to get to. How would that look like for POPCRU?
We are saying our members must access their pension fund without any hindrances. The access should not be limited to what the members, to what GPF, Treasury wants to achieve. The access should be in paying up your bonds, in paying up your debt which you have, but continue working. At least the money that you are paying in terms of the housing can be saved by government. The money that you are also contributing in terms of paying your monthly installment will be safe. You can have money in your pocket. Because as we say currently in the current financial discourse, workers are worse off. As I'm talking to you now, this financial year, they've got less than what the inflation is. So Workers have not received anything which is above inflation. Now we are saying to them again, let them go back and tap on their pension. Once they tap on their pension, we are going to talk about removing some years of service. We've got complaints, as I'm sitting here with you today, there were complaints that as the workers sitting here, they are saying their pension, the statement of last year is not the same as the statement of this year. Then the question, what happened to their money?
What do you see happening should the implementation go ahead? And as we've done a poll in that some workers, even though they know the tax implications, are saying because of the dire straits, they will access some money. What do you foresee happening should that go ahead and your workers are able to then access it?
We're saying to our members, don't access that money until we are able. Our option will be then to engage, get clear mandate, what do we do going forward. But we're saying in its current form, our members must never even think about accessing that money or even trying to get it, because from 30,000, it will be less than 20,000 that they're going to get. So they must never, ever try to access that money.
All right, Mr. Ngwenya, thank you so much for your time. Of course, there you have it, with just 6 days to go before the implementation then of the two-part retirement system on the 1st of September. There's still more questions than answered as we continue then to unpack the implications of this particular system.